if they'll stick with first pick as they had, no, they went for Towers of Doom last game. So now they're going to switch to first pick, switching it up again. Gale Force will pick Tomb.
And I think this fits in. I mean, you have the threat of Kerrigan that could come out here, but it could easily get turned on them. But you have the threat of Kerrigan that could come out. We've also seen Gul'dan a priority in the past. We've seen what Hanzo can do. Hanzo Tassadar on this map works out really well. So there's a lot of opportunities I think we see from Mage play in particular. We've seen Jaina in the past. We actually saw the Jaina ban in the last game. So we could see the potential around a lot of Mage play on this one. This tends to be the one where Mages are played more consistently in multiple regions. So Tomb of the Spider Queen, never without action, never without mages. Mages are my favorite class/role. There's no real class, but they play the role.
Does that include Medivh?
No, no.
Why not? He's like the ultimate mage. He's the guardian? Yeah.
I don't know, man. He's like a resident of the battleground, and it's just like a real sleeper for me.
I see what you did there. Both of these teams have played Jaina the one game that each has on Tomb. However, Jaina has been falling off hard.
Yeah.
From like week 1, where it was just like, we have an extra spot.
Everybody
Is there an
goes
auto
Jaina.
attacker? We're gonna pick Tychus. Is this the mage? We're gonna pick Jaina. What do we want to do here? And then all of a sudden, it's just like a huge drop-off point.
Yeah, you know, we haven't seen Leoric yet today. Leoric, also one of those heroes that's kind of falling off just a tiny bit.
He was struggling.
Yeah, but this is a traditional battleground.
True.
That we would see Leoric on more likely. So you have that. You have the potential Ragnaros. Malthael, of course, has done really well, and it was one of the talking points that you had is Gale Force prioritizing that before the second ban. And I think that's been a big thing for them so far. And with them having second pick, I don't know if it will be one of their first 2 picks, although I think it's definitely something that will likely come through.
Just kind of sort of wondering if Gale Force would ban Greymane here, given what we've seen from SpaceStation so far. But they're going to ban Genji, which makes me think Hanzo will be the pick, which gives Gale Force the ETC Greymane. No. We're changing. ETC. So Greymane and Hanzo are available. So is Hanzo Tassadar.
I mean, Udall could play the Tassadar pretty well. We've also seen him, again, if they're wanting to go down the Kerrigan route, ETC is really good at countering stuff like that. So the hesitation here by Gale Force, maybe they were expecting Hanzo to go through. Hanzo's a little bit easier to get on than Genji. So having Kerrigan as that dive composition, I think there might be hesitation. I don't think they might have been expecting Hanzo here.
I think they were expecting Hanzo and weren't expecting
for themselves.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I think they were expecting Hanzo from SpaceStation and not for like, wait a minute, now we have to decide, do we want Hanzo or do we give up ETC Hanzo?
That's a lot of power picks to give up to your opponent. Well, they'll do it anyway. Look at Greymane and Lucio. Doesn't give too much away. But what it does do is maybe force SpaceStation, if they're not going to play that Malthael, which SpaceStation did play Malthael on Tomb the last time they were on it. If not, probably going to have to ban it now. Especially with both Tyrael and Lucio gone as ways of dealing with Tormented.
Akapace has now played Lucio in 50% of their games played. Maybe it's a little less than 50 because they're at game 17 now. But it was 6 coming in, so they're 8 out of 17, almost 50% of their games. And Lucio's not terrible when it's high priority. It's just they're really showing that they like that Lucio pairing. The stats coming into today, Lucio was Greymane's worst pairing. It's his worst success rate, but we've seen the Tyrael kind of come into play. No Tyrael this game, but things could look different. There's the early Jaina. Got our mage style.
Gale Force hasn't played Hanzo yet this series. They played him twice to mixed success, 1 win, 1 loss. Last series, they've given him up here. SpaceStation's also given him up. They only played Hanzo once before this series, and then they played him in the first game, and then banned him second game in this series. I just think both of these teams are not really up on the Hanzo train like everyone else.
They're on the Greymane train, that's for sure. We saw Chromie, I think that might have been a misclick originally, but they are hovering Kerrigan. And I mentioned Equinox. known Kerrigan player. Shrite will likely be the Jaina player. If you want to go into that aggressive melee style, this would be the map that you could get away with it if you wanted to run like a triple melee plus a Jaina, set up some combos there. Jaina Kerrigan combo is absolutely terrifying for anybody.
Yeah, that's an old school combo.
That is old. And then you get the power slide in. I mean,
Yes.
you do not make it out of there alive. Roots?
You're not getting out. What we're trying to say is, if Kerrigan you add to that, then just picks all day. Pick City. Gale Force doesn't want to deal with that. I don't blame him. It's enough with ETC, Jaina, Malfurion. That's already a good rotation.
But that means Gale Force is not going that route. So Ragnaros is appealing here. You could also go Leoric. That would be appealing. You can neutralize some of that damage when you get post 13 with Leoric. Plus you have good wave clear. Ragnaros has the spell armor talent at level 4. So he has different ways of filling the solo lane role while also being able to counter mage style play. The one reason I like Leoric is because Jaina and Malfurion have 0 mobility. And you could get that lockdown, you could get that entomb onto that backline far easier than you could on most other heroes. So that gives them the availability to get back there, combo up off that dive, set up some opportunities. We do see Johanna banned out though.
You're not going to ban Malthael. B-Kid's going to take it. They could still play Rag because Gale Force's Ragnaros player is not B-Kid. It's Michael Udall. They play more of a double melee assassin, but instead, who's playing that Medivh?
Biggie.
Yeah?
I'm pretty sure it's Biggie, and then Udall flexes over to the Grey Man.
All right.
Jaina picked up. I need an auto attack style hero here. And with Equinox shifting over.
Well, what's going to deal with Diablo? Because I'm pretty sure that's what's coming out from Gale Force.
Well, we're going to find out. I mean, the thing is with Jaina Malfurion, that's double ice block.
Yeah.
Once Jaina finishes it, and once Malfurion hits 13. This is scary.
Yeah, but if you are timing Leyline Apocalypse correctly, you shouldn't be able to even ice block it.
You just better be mashing that key as fast as...
Ooh!
I am done. I'm just going to go ahead and...
You finally get your Zagara!
Not like this!
Doesn't matter.
Okay, here's the thing. There's an old style that was played on this battleground with Zagara. Was able to control a point, and you get the creep down around one of the turn-in points, and that way you could keep an eye on one and use the other 4 however you want. Zagara has really good wave clear. She has good vision. There's not a lot that clears that. Diablo can clear it, Malthael can clear it, Medivh can clear it, but those are all a little bit longer cooldowns. Diablo probably with the shortest in terms of things that can clear. But Equinox gets his Tracer. Can we confirm?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're still in swap mode.
Still in swap
I'll get
mode.
back to you.
It was one of his most played heroes last year. And...
It was? Yes. It's Equinox.
Malfurion, Tracer, works. Innervate for Jaina, works. Zagara comes into the middle of all this, and... I mean, they're playing to strengths that they have. I haven't seen Zagara in a long time on Tomb of the Spider Queen. And... can't wait to see some Devouring Maw, because there's probably little to no way that you don't go Devouring Maw here to deal with the dive style composition and maybe get a little bit of setup yourself.
Yeah. Ma.
A ring out of it.
Into ring.
Got
Is that
him.
what we're doing?
I don't think so, but I would not
Into
mind
Maj?
it.
Just
I wouldn't mind it.
fireworks potentially for Game 3 with the first Zagara of North American HGC 2018. Let's get into it. Let's see how Jason plays it, and let's see if the Medivh Diablo is enough for Gale Force to take the win and take the series.
Definitely a unique draft, to say the least. It is highly pick-centric when we talk about Jaina, Tracer, Malfurion, and ETC on the side of SpaceStation. It's going to be up to Gale Force here as we have a momentary pause. Diablo, once he gets souls, much more powerful. Tomb of the Spider Queen, one of the easiest ways to get them because you get those souls off of the minions. Greymane doesn't necessarily have a lot of early game kill potential. He can follow up, generally requires somebody else. Unfortunately, that somebody else is Medivh. So this team is built more for the mid to late game once you get to level 7, although we've seen some different builds at level 7 for Medivh. So level 7 on, I think, is going to be a key part for Gale Force, because by that point you've got souls, by that point you've got Greymane still strong, and you have Medivh starting to stack up.
And for SpaceStation, prior to that, they should be getting work done. They have that rotation squad for picks with the Malfurion, Tracer, Jaina, etc. And they also have Zagara solo laner. And it's not going to be a fun time for B-Kid's Malthael. Now, B-Kid used to play a fair amount of Zagara, so I reckon that he's going to know what he needs to do, but it's still not going to be fun for him.
I reckon you are clearly from Kansas.
How do you know that?
I mean, I've kind of worked with you for a few years.
That's true.
Just a few.
I kind of wondered if maybe we would see Death's Reach, Wraith Strike, increased range. Is this will still, having Fear the Reaper will be able to give that movement speed, but trying to get on some of this backline might prove difficult later on for B-Kid.
That's a little, you know, I'm gonna let that one pass. Got the big bump there out of the blizzard, but he was trying to zone in other ways. Equinox though, again, once he gets that pulse bomb charged up, it's up to him to get the picks. The problem is Medivh has something that can pretty much neutralize all damage.
Two things about this Medivh. I would say probably going to see him a lot in Raven form, trying to keep track of SpaceStation, making sure that he's giving vision on those rotations. Also, not sure we're going to see a Master's Touch this game. It seems like most Medivh players, except Dainsky. Oh, we're actually seeing Michael Udall solo.
And it makes sense.
Yeah,
because
it's so hard versus the range, and especially Zag.
yeah, melee players struggle heavily into Zagara. There's very few that can honestly say that they can play even, and probably very few, unless the skill gap is very different, that you could say you win that matchup. Zagara is just way too strong in that early game in the solo lane.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I mean, it's not so bad because you've got lanes that are close together, but a lot of times when you know you're going to lose on the 4-man and the rotations there, whether it's because of picks like this or wave clear, you're relying on winning that solo lane, and Zagara is not going to let you do that very easily. So Gale Force making some adjustments to try to make sure that they don't fall as far behind, but you can still see her presence, her creep, is enough that we're seeing Greymane make some pretty safe rotations when he goes up to help in mid.
Yeah, and you can see the swap here. They've rotated Greymane over to try and deal with this Night Camp, making sure not to lose too many structures. Medivh will at least attempt to hold that bottom lane while they deal with the push here in the middle, which right now is pretty substantial for SpaceStation.
It is. Taking down those towers only further enables their first Webweaver phase when they can get it. Now, despite having controlling rotations, SpaceStation hasn't been able to get any of their gems turned in just yet. It's been Gale Force. I destroyed JL. My bad.
You know, what I would like to see, at this point you can see the creep around that bottom turn-in. That actually makes ganks incredibly difficult. They're going to need somebody. Greymane in Worgen form can queue over. If he would do that a couple times, clear that creep out would be a really good job. Use that Medivh to come down, use the portal, close that gap onto the Zagara, use the Greymane, get one more person behind that, and try and get the gank onto Zagara. That's going to be one of the big plays for them, I think, to try and make happen as Biggie gets the portal down. The rest of the team not quite here yet, though.
Yeah, and that's because the other lanes are suffering just as much. Like, yeah, they'd love to be able to get on there, but they're dealing with the wave clear of Jay Shritza, back and forth of the rest of SpaceStation. SpaceStation doing what they need to. It's a matter of how much is done. He recalls out, gets the pulse bomb hitting Biggie.
And that's actually a mistake by Biggie. The minute that shield went out, that Force of Will, that's when Equinox was like, wait a minute, this is my time to land it. Sometimes you need to use that till you can get to the point of safety. You just kind of have to deal. There's the Zagara kill. Michael Udall styling on somebody down there, but you have to be careful using that Force of Will, because if Tracer has that pulse bomb up, she will easily use that when that wears off.
Akaface is playing out of his mind this series. That was a perfect boop, just waiting for Casanova to power slide in. He also has Subwoofer for the increased knockback to help with that too.
Casanova is like, look, I might go in here, but the Diablo charge and flip is way too scary. Again, Diablo post level 13 is...
Jaina.
Is Udall just going off up here?
That's a lot of gems. There's 15 gems that were just lost. A little bit more. Oh man, that's rough. First turn in for Gale Force though. That's so relieving for Gale Force to get that first turn in. Just trying wherever they could to put a few gems in the bank here and there so that they get this first turn in phase, and that lets them try to push back the lanes, which SpaceStation have done a number to.
We do get Master's Touch this game, Gilly. Nothing out of the ordinary here, especially against this composition that has 4 ranged heroes and 1 melee. A little bit more valuable in the long run here once you complete it. But the Web Weavers are pushing in here for Gale Force. So far have complete control with Michael Udall getting a few picks, allowing this map to open up a little bit in their favor.
Yeah, this is our first Biggie Medivh game we're seeing, and it is a difficult quest to complete. And there's ETC with the increased knockback range to deal with portals. There's the slows from Jaina and the increased damage there from Chill, and then there's Roots from Malfurion. So it's on Biggie to make sure that he's taking care of himself, as well as the rest of the team, to help make sure that he can stack that Master's Touch up without him losing the stacks.
We also got slows from Zagara as well. If she hits those Banelings,
Oh, yes.
helping out as well to get control over that potential frontline dive. But either way, we've got almost a full level lead for Gale Force that has done really well, turning 2 picks into quite a bit of structure damage and a commanding lead here on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Looking for those heroics. Last weekend we got an instance of Lightning Breath, but I don't anticipate. Do you anticipate anything other than Apocalypse? I don't.
Be a little bit wild to see, I think, using APOC with the
The only thing I can think of is if they're worried enough about Mosh Pit that they feel like they need Polybomb. Glaurung has done that a couple of times. He did that last year.
Yeah, that is true. In terms of interrupts, that is, I mean, outside of a Lucio Boop, that is your only interrupt for a Mosh Pit or APOC itself.
Which is...
Yeah. So that is something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
If you go Poly, and then maybe that would give you the Lightning Breath. APOC's still incredibly strong on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Get the charge in, post level 13, devastating charge on this. You can ragdoll somebody. And I don't know. It will be a fun way, regardless. You can get a lot of value out of both. And it's almost like he needs to hold it. Hold that talent choice. Force it out. See which one is more valuable. Because a Mosh Pit, if it lands, is one of the most impactful heroics, if not the most impactful potential heroics in the game.
Well, he locked in Leyline pretty fast. And it can stall, so maybe the thought process is if Kassa hits a Mosh, it's likely to be off the back of a Maw anyway, or I guess it could be the other way, like a Mosh and then Maw people after that's happened. What I'm trying to say is, if things go down like that, people are probably going to die anyway because it's so Wombo focused, and Gale Force needs to just avoid it to begin with. But they do have the Leyline APOC combination.
We do not have Maul.
Nope, Nidus Network.
That is very surprising. And I'm a huge advocate of Nidus Network, but as Tomb of the Spider Queen, where you are relying on team fights and big playmaking, despite Devouring Maul being on a very long cooldown, we'll see how that comes into play because it is a very late game and global focused talent. Leyline
hits 1. Ring of Frost. Nobody. Sound Barrier protects Biggie from the Pulse Bomb. Blizzard out. Fury going in. Hits the APOC. Trying to get Tomster. Turns around with the Twilight Dream. Casanova hits a 2-man Mosh Pit in the back. The loop out from Lucio as they're trying to bring him down. They do take out ETC. Zagara falls 2 kills for Gale Force Esports as they're chasing back Equinox.
Michael Udall on fire right now, getting these kills. And it's 2 members down on SpaceStation while their Web Weavers are spawning. So that is a major loss for them when it comes to getting this push because Gilly, on that pick earlier, they lost a lot of gems. They didn't have a whole lot now. So now they lose even more. And then it's going to be a long time. They are sitting on 10 gems. It's going to be a long time before they're going to be able to get another turn in. So SpaceStation is going to have to rely on team fighting, at least for the next several minutes.
Now what I was going to say before the fight broke out was there is one positive aspect to having Nidus Network besides the global possibilities, and that's the battle momentum that you get as long as you're on creep. So far, Gale Force has been doing a great job of keeping that creep pushed back so that it's not that Jason can get that spread out, but with this web weaver phase, if SpaceStation can not only try to open up the map, get caught back up in the game, maybe get some picks, but if not, at least get some structure damage, it also pushes back Gale Force enough that they might be able to start getting that creep spread going.
The Nidus in the middle of the lane. Sometimes you need to make quick rotations. The problem is, it was several months ago, they actually made Nidus on a much longer cooldown. So giving one up for the sheer, I guess, map control, lane control by doing that, you're giving up that heroic. Yeah, and it is a long cooldown. Right now it's safe, but it won't be for long.
Now they're protecting it, but it doesn't stop, it doesn't allow SpaceStation to be at all of the different turn-in points to delay. A lot of gems were turned in for Gale Force before SpaceStation were able to get down to the bottom turn-in. Thankfully though, they do force a sound barrier. Oh man, Michael Udall nearly kills Equinox.
They're going in. There's the charge, the stun over the APOC zoning, but the ring is going to land. Casanova slides out. Let's see if Mouthdale can get on the target. Casanova walking away. They do find themselves a Tomster, and SpaceStation not able to get a kill out of all of that.
I wondered if Fury would be willing to go in after the one person was only hit by the ley line, but he was still willing to do it. He went back in, hit the APOC, and had the one target, and the perfect flank. B-Kid's flank was excellent off the side so that you could start getting the damage done on multiple people and make SpaceStation have to run away. So much had been used by that point. There was no way that everyone was going to escape, and Fury found his target, taking out a Malfurion before Ice Block was there. Biggie nearly went down. He is not finished with Master's Touch, but he does survive. Greymane, unfortunately, is the one who is lost for Gale Force.
Yeah, Udall saw the portal there. He thought he might be able to make a play happen. Good slide over by Casanova to take him down. Now, Gale Force finds themselves in a similar situation, losing a member as the Web Weavers are spawning or falling. It hurts them. It's not 2 members, plus they have Siege Giants pushing behind it, so they'll get some value out of this. But Equinox over there,
he keeps almost dying. Nice portal. Recall, that's going to be a really rough spot though. Akaface is going to chase him down. The charge gets the kill. No Tracer now for 30 seconds as all of Gale Force is ready to push along with these Web Weavers. Jason taking out top, but the rest is going to get a lot done for Gale Force.
Yeah, somehow that Nidus has survived in the top lane. Zagara barely gets in there. There goes the Nidus. Zagara finds herself down in the bot lane, making it quite a bit easier to defend.
Well done by Gale Force. Their Web Weavers and getting that kill on Equinox allowed them to take out nearly all of the forts. SpaceStation setting up maybe for a pick here in the top lane as they get Equinox back. They do save the fort, but the problem for them now is that Gale Force is almost to 16, and they're looking for another pick. Biggie's been just constantly, like a hawk, watching Jason.
Yeah, there's a little bit of discipline there. B-Kid could have cleared that Nidus, but giving away your position, giving away any advantage you have is much more important than that long cooldown on the Nidus. And yeah, as you said, Gale Force, they're getting close to having a turn-in. They're 4 gems away. They're also really close to having 16. They're going to take this camp, have it push down mid while they get the rest of the gems, hopefully posture up, get themselves the remaining gems, get a push behind that camp. Allow them to force SpaceStation to rotate over to clear that and really try and compound this push that they're about to get, plus their 16 talent tier advantage. I think right now is their best opportunity to try and capitalize and open up this map in their favor.
Yeah, 16 is just such a monstrous talent tier advantage for Gale Force. Having Medivh have that extra healing and Lucio, and then having Domination just opens up so many more plays from Fury and his Diablo.
You can ragdoll people as Diablo. I mean, devastating charge at 13. Toss them around a little bit, get that huge percentage-based damage and clear. See how that plays out. Fury can make those plays as it stands. Web Weaver is going to be pushing onto the keep wall here.
SpaceStation with 16 will get a lot more damage with Tracer and the roots or armor reduction for Jaina, but feels like a way stronger tier for Gale Force. Web Weaver's pushing in as SpaceStation hope that they can defend. We've got the roots underneath the portal to dissuade Gale Force from getting feisty.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you want to come through here? It's not going to happen. Either way, only getting a keep wall here is Gale Force, but a good defense here by SpaceStation. Tracer was working on the bottom as we saw before that. The top still a little bit healthier. So far, SpaceStation has made a pretty decent stand, making good use of Zagara and Jaina. We have excellent wave clear.
Gale Force sees the split, Cigar in the bottom. But yeah, the Blizzard placements have been good for Jay Shritta. He's been crucial in keeping these web weavers from getting too much done. Gale Force may get chased back here as they're still around. SpaceStation's coming in with Jason. Pulse bomb hits, little chunk Fury.
It'll chunk him big time, and Equinox trying to stay on the boot back ley line in place. We've got ourselves an APOC. Recalls in there. They get the stun onto Casanova, who gets blown up.
It was the Tormented Souls. Ring of Frost was out. The Tormented Souls, APOC. Twilight Dream. Tomster was hoping to get something done from that. Instead, he'll sacrifice his life. Equinox gets the Pulse Bomb in, nearly pays for it with his life. Jason and Equinox doing what they can to try to see if they can salvage this situation. But there's just nothing to be done. Gale Force is all alive, and there's a boss on the board, J-How.
There's a boss, and the worst part about that right now for SpaceStation is they lost a lot of gems again. They're down to 38, and they still need 17 more per turn in. Diablo, however, did go down in that fight. All of his souls are gone. When you look at Diablo and the way that he's built, obviously he didn't go spell armor at 7, but he's still fully reliant on making sure that he has those souls, having that huge health bar. And that will not be there for at least a little bit longer. So they have that potential. If they can isolate him on the front line, we saw the Pulse Bomb do some damage. Had he not had souls, that would have been a dead Diablo a little bit sooner, maybe snowball a little bit. So they'll have that opportunity. But this boss pushing top lane is very scary.
Yeah, it was kind of a similar situation to one that we talked about before, where instead of Numbing Blast, we saw Northern Exposure as a way to get that Diablo down after the Pulse Bomb connected. And that's going to chunk with so much health that he has with Quantum Spike. Fury now with no souls. We'll have to be a little more cautious in the way that he uses that domination, trying to go in for plays.
APOC available in 5 seconds. They could look for a ley line APOC to maybe set up something in the game. Instead, they're going to play a little bit safe. They get the keep. That gives them the control. They'll portal out. Both teams with a pretty long ways away from the turn-in. However, Gale Force sitting on that 2-level lead.
SpaceStation may just have to try to burn those gems, get in for a turn-in, and then use it to buy time. They're going to move out. This is just before Gale Force gets 20, so it's a good place for them to fight. They're going to power slide in. Fully focused on Fury. Great knockback. The Roots to Sound Barrier not in time to save Diablo's life. This time, a full respawn timer might be enough time for SpaceStation to turn in those gems and get some web weavers.
I am super surprised that there was not more protection for that defense. Because, you know, unlike an Anubarak or a Johanna, you don't have the unstoppable. You didn't have the souls. That vulnerability and everything that went in there, they timed around. Again, the minute the Force of Will went out, the Pulse Bomb came and coupled right behind it. I mean, there's just, that was excellent recognition by SpaceStation, but a little bit of a slip up on Gale Force's part.
It's not too bad for them, though. At least they have the 20. They just need to not lose more. This is where things could fall apart. SpaceStation don't have 20. So as soon as Diablo's back up, they're going to have to back off from this. And they used all their gems for this turn-in. So SpaceStation is in a very tough place where they try to figure out, are we willing? Wow. Wow. Aka face. Wow.
Intentional or not, he just body blocked that Pulse Bomb. That'll be something I want to watch again later. But that was amazing positioning by Akaface. That had to be intentional.
Oh, man. And then they had the Force of Will after that, too. Gale Force just playing so well together.
That is, if you're a support main and you can play like that, and you recognize that the only way he dies is not by you not healing him, it's by you body blocking that Pulse Bomb. That was an incredible play by Akaface.
I'm speechless. His Karazim is Lucio. He has been on point today. Big reason why Gale Force are but one win away from 3-0ing SpaceStation. The SpaceStation, using the time that Diablo was down, did just enough. They're right on the cusp of getting Storm Tier talents. They've done what they need to do with their web weavers. They didn't get a keep down, so there's still no opportunity. There's no opening for them to take out the core, but they get to 20.
They get to 20, and that's the biggest part, is they can continue to use the Nidus creep to keep vision down. And that will help them tremendously. She actually went endless creep, so now you can place that creep at range. So you don't have to be there. Normally you have to put it beside you with endless creep. You can put it down anywhere as long as you've got a little bit of of distance. It's not full global, but it's pretty significant.
SpaceStation continuing to force Gale Force back. Gale Force now have enough for a Web Weaver phase. And SpaceStation wants to use that vision control, the creep, and make sure that they can keep a hold or keep track of this center area. One thing that happened for SpaceStation versus Heroes Hearth was that when they were in control, they ended up losing track of one of the members of Heroes Hearth who got a turn-in, and that was a really big turning point for SpaceStation. Or for Heroes Hearth. So SpaceStation have already lost one keep. They can't afford to lose anything else.
Leyline, do we get the APOC? That's 3 people under there. The APOC is out. That only hits nobody. As we got double blink ring in response there. We've got the sound barrier as well. And all hell is breaking loose in this fight as we see ETC go down first.
Yeah, Beacon was 1v4ing so the rest of the team could do what they needed to do to take out Malthael. Now Jaina has fallen, and Zagara and Tracer were not long for this world. 4 quick kills as Gale Force Esports take down SpaceStation Gaming. They're trying to figure out where they want to go, but with the portal, don't have much difficulty rotating around to the core. There's only a Malfurion left, and he, sad to say, does not have Twilight Dream even, let alone any support from the rest of the people who are down for a significant amount of time. Gale Force gets the fight necessary to close out this series.
That APOC had 3 people lined up. Tracer,
It's just a little late.
ETC, and Jaina all had blink abilities, and they got out, but the fight still turned in their favor. Gale Force, after struggling a little bit last week, Gilly comes out in 3 O's in their first series of the weekend.
Now, awesome play from Gale Force. We highlighted it, but I want to say it again. Akaface was out of control this series. Awesome, awesome play from the support. The whole team playing synergistically. You know, Akaface taking that pulse bomb and having the force of will afterward. The combos of the Leyline and Apocalypse making things work. But for SpaceStation, we, as soon as we saw the role swaps come in, and then this role swap back, you have to know that it's going to take some time. And they're doing what they feel like is necessary for them to be able to get the wins in the long term. But it is unfortunate that they had to do that versus this series because it is an important one when you look at Western Clash and seeding.
Yeah, and Gale Force takes a big step towards that. Again, they have a tough test again tomorrow in Team 12. And if they can keep up the momentum, I mean, it kind of puts last week behind them. But I'd say getting the week off to this one is a good start. Even if they fall tomorrow, they're still in contention, right? So Gale Force has positioned themselves well so far. And this series, it had a little bit of everything. We saw the role swap now on the side of SpaceStation Gaming, a little bit unbeknownst to us and a little bit surprising. That was my biggest part with SpaceStation, is getting that stability on the front line, just narrowing the hero pool, playing more to those strengths. Instead, we get Casanova, who's probably one of the most standout players in our league here in North America, and that ranged role now moving back to a tank role.
Yeah, it's a long-term, like I said, more of an investment for them. And something that SpaceStation has been willing to do before, they did that in Phase 2, where they said, yeah, if we make it to the Western Clash, that'd be awesome, but we're more long-term, goal-oriented, where we're going to make changes that are necessary for us to get into a better position for BlizzCon. And that didn't quite work out for them in playoffs, but we know that they are more than willing to kind of tank these early series, or not tank them, but you know, be willing to make adjustments whenever needed, so at least they can get to a place where they want to be.
Their eyes are on the prize. And remember, with the season, yes, you're playing for Western Clash, but it continues all the way up until the mid-season brawl and getting one of those spots leading into the playoffs. And, you know, we have that little playoff thing going on at the Clash. Depending on which region wins, you get an extra team for the mid-season brawl. North America, definitely in contention this year. Just going to go ahead and say it. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah? You putting it out there?
I am not afraid to put it out there.
Okay.
I am not afraid to put it out there at all.
Well, let's put out a replay and take a look at a play while we're waiting for Gale Force Esports and their winners interview. It is...
all eyes on Akaface here.
Yes.
I mean, you can see B-Kid solo, and he's like, I'm taking this.
Insane.
It might have been for the boot back, but it's also like a 2-in-1 play, and then the force of will right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is top tier supporting. Oh, but I got to get the heal. I got to land the Ancestral. I got to land the Divine Shield. Sometimes it's about body blocking and just eating that pulse bomb when you're 100% health target. Whew, that looked good. That looked good. I mean, imagine if you lose B-Kid there. Imagine if you lose B-Kid and they are on the push. things could look very different in that game just off that one play. And you could say that about a lot of plays, but Akaface during this series just was standout. 2 Lucio games, 1 Karazim game, and all of them look fantastic.
Yeah, he looked very good. And Michael Udall, also very good on that Greymane, twice getting kills that no clue how he was able to get those. But one really important aspect of the second kill there on Jaina was how many gems were lost for SpaceStation, and that continued to plague them through the rest of the game. And it's a good recognition from him that he was able to get those picks, just great Greymane play overall, and that they could force so many gems to be lost from SpaceStation, because it was problematic. A lot of times when you get that far behind, you want to be able to combo turn-in after turn-in, and that was a problem when you lose so many gems. Oh, we've got Biggie on the line, so let's check in now. Hey, Biggie, congratulations. How are you guys feeling after that 3-0?
What's up? We're feeling pretty good.
Good, good.
Pretty good.
Were you, what was the game plan coming in your series versus SpaceStation today?
Pretty much brush up on the mistakes we made last week. Like, we had a lot of players having in real life issues, including myself, and like we just pretty much had to get our synergy back and perfect my drafting skills, but we did pretty good.
What did you guys do after the LFM loss to kind of stabilize as a unit, as a roster, and so that you could mentally stabilize for this big weekend you guys have?
It pretty much took everyone to pull things together, and like Michael with his real life stuff, my stuff, and like it was hard, but we did it.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. Proud of you guys. I'll send you over to Jayha for more questions.
Biggie, with that being said, do you guys tend to rally around each other in this situation? How do you keep the spirits high as, you know, the drafter and kind of one of the main components of this team? Like, is this like a bonding moment for you guys? Because you guys looked a lot better this weekend than last.
I feel like on this team we're a lot closer than we are, and when we have things going on, we help each other through it, and like it pretty much we stepped it up. Like, nothing else to say.
When we looked over at SpaceStation, we saw the role swap. Were you guys aware of this? Did you guys expect this coming in? As the drafter, were these things that you prepared for? Did you know about that?
I had a feeling that it was going to happen sooner or later. I just didn't know when. But we were pretty prepared for it. We weren't too worried. But Equinox and Caster are both solid players, so they can play either role pretty much like fine. So
you guys got an important win today. Tomorrow you have another tough test in Team 12. How important was the win today, knowing that you have such a tough opponent tomorrow? And then talk about that matchup a little bit.
It was important to us because it helps us build a lot of confidence, honestly. Like, that's for anyone. If you win, you build a lot of confidence. And going into the match tomorrow, I feel like we're pretty confident because we won this one pretty single-sidedly, I want to say. Not to take anything away from them, but we showed up today.
Well, congratulations. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Biggie, good luck tomorrow versus Team 12. And the time is now for shout-outs if you've got them.
Shout-outs to our coach, our analysts, and to our org. And shout-outs to my teammates for pulling it together.
All right. Short and sweet. I like it. Thank you, Biggie. Congrats again.
Thank you.
2-3-0.